Hi, my name is Yuen Yung. I am the CEO, co-founder of a concept called How Do You Roll, the Custom Sushi Shop. And before I was doing this, I've only been doing this for about 2.5, almost 3 years now. Previous to that, I was a wealth manager, so I was a CFP, Certified Financial Planner, and did that for 14 years, straight out of college. So what got me to this point? Really, it was I had 30 minutes for lunch one day, and in between client meetings, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And out in front of my office, I had two fabulous options. One was Taco Bell, and the other one was Subway. And so I said, well, I just had Subway like 2 days in a row. I don't want Taco Bell, so I actually went a little bit further to a H-E-B and picked up a couple of pre-made sushi rolls, right? We've all probably done that before. And brought it back to my desk and sat down and ate it really fast, and I was like, oh my God, this is like dating somebody I don't like, but better than nobody. And that was like some sick feeling that I had, and I started thinking, why can't I get sushi rolls the way I get a hamburger or a burrito or a sub sandwich? And thus the concept of How Do You Roll was born.
So our first question is, how did you choose how you've been growing, and was it deliberate, or did you just kind of fall into it? Did circumstances happen? Tell us a bit about that.
Very deliberate. So we started that concept, and it was interesting because we started that concept with just one store in mind. We didn't know what was going to happen, and we didn't know if it was going to work in terms of the marketplace, because we actually scoured the entire country and could not find anything like it. And so because of that, we were very nervous, and so we only opened one store to begin with. I would say that the first 4 months was hell, especially the $5,000–6,000 checks that I had to write to cover. That wasn't very much fun. But in month 5 and month 6, we actually started breaking even, started making money, and then people started saying, "Is this from California?" And that's really started bugging me. And I said, "No, this is the only one here in Austin." And so then my brother and my brother is also a co-founder with me in the concept. He's a sushi chef, and we sat down. I remember the day very vividly because it was a week before Christmas. We sat down, we talked about what we were doing and what was going on, and did we have something special here? And we made that decision that we would move forward. So from December to about February, April, I sold my practice and became the CEO of the company and hired 2 part-time people and started it. And so it was very deliberate from that standpoint. Then people started asking, like, can I franchise this concept? Can I franchise this concept? And I didn't know anything about franchising, right? So I'm like, sure, that sounds cool. How do we do that? And so we talked to some consultants, and they actually told us that we were too early. Having one location was a little too early to start franchising. We had a lot of systems issues, and the model and all this other stuff. So we said, okay, well that's great. So we'll work on it, put it together, and figure it out. And so I think it was about another 8 months or 9 months, we opened a second store, which was our downtown store. And we worked very hard on building systems and processes, and came back to those consultants and said, please, let me give you $100,000 so you can help me franchise this thing. They finally said, okay, and so we paid them, and they started working with us, and in about 3–4 months they helped us put our plan together, which if you've never been through franchising, is a very interesting process all on its own. So we started with that, and in the first 2 months we picked up a couple of franchises for about 4 or 5 locations, and then off to the races we went.
And so I'd love you guys to speak just a little bit about how, as you've grown and gone through this adventure, how you've maintained quality, right? That's something that everybody in this room is dealing with right now. So I'd like to hear about that.
Sure. That's definitely a challenge, and we have 11 stores open right now. They span from California all the way to Florida, and so keeping the consistency is a major part of what we're trying to do. So I actually have personally gone to all those stores and ordered a roll just to make sure that they were all consistent. For us, we try to control quality from people first. We're very big on our philosophies, our core values. We randomly pull people and say, what are our 5 core values, and what does that mean to you? And we actually go through that process, because we feel like we're not a sushi company serving people, we are a people company serving sushi. And so for us, it's very particular that we start with the quality of people first. How do we deal with that from the people side? From the people side, what we do is we use a system called top grading, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. And so we literally just go through that process. And even for an entry-level position with us, they've got to go through a screening with questionnaire, then phone interview, then group interview, then face-to-face interview, then executive team interview before they even come on. On the food side, the challenge is always where the source comes from. And these guys could probably tell you the same thing. It's not easy to get good, fresh products and be able to still control what the consistency is across the board. So I will be the first one to tell you the avocados I use in Florida are not the same avocados I use in California, because it's not possible, right? Or if it is, it's out of a cost range. And so what we do is we actually have to work with certain vendors and understand where the sources are coming from, and then we trace that all the way back. So for example, for us, fish is a big deal, right? So we trace our fish all the way back to, okay, this came from the Philippines, that came from Malaysia, this one came from Canada, that one came from Scotland. I mean, we have to trace all that stuff, and we stay on top of that because vendors will try to switch it up on you if you're not careful. And so we literally have weekly calls, monthly calls with our vendors, and we go over our entire product line with them, where the stuff is coming from, who does it go to, and how does it get into the store. And then we communicate with our stores and our franchisees in terms of what they're allowed to order and what they're going to accept and what they're not going to accept. We prefer not to carry something and say that, hey, we just don't have it, even though it's a very popular item, than to put an inferior product in. So we're not going to take the AA tuna. We're going to only take AAA, yellowfin only from a certain region because we know how the farming is happening, etc. And so we go through that process, and sometimes it's a battle, and it's not an easy battle, but the vendors like to test you, right? They'll push products that are inferior to you and hope you take it. The first time you take it, I think that's the end of it, because they'll always keep trying to do that. So part of it is just being a little bit pushy about how our brand works and what happens. And so we spend a lot of time working with them and pushing on them in terms of what they're getting. And they're surprised when we say, well, we just won't sell tuna today. I mean, that's a shock to them. They're like, we'll tell the customers the truth, right? We'll just tell our customers there's a shortage of supply. Our vendor, you, did not have it, right? And therefore, we're not going to serve you anything inferior, right? And that's kind of how it works. And that's tough, but that's a tough one, right? So it's hard to come in sometimes and not get what you want because you want what you want, but I'd rather give you the right thing than the wrong thing. So that's just part of the process.
Can you think of an incident when your business's reputation was under fire? And how did you handle the situation?
So the only thing that happened to us was not necessarily our brand reputation was at stake, but when we first opened, we actually had a lot of sushi connoisseurs, that's the nice way I put it, who came through and really, just really said that we were blasphemous to sushi. Because, we put grilled chicken and beef and strawberries and whatever the heck you want to put in there. Pop rock, sure, go ahead, throw it in. And so when we did that, we did get a lot of hate mail that said that, you guys are killing tradition, and, this is crazy, and I hope you guys go to hell and, die under the sushi sword, and blah, blah, blah. And so that was really hard for us because, I mean, this, in this day and age, it was all showing up on Yelp and emails, and so it was really hard for us to take. To this day, we respond to every single Yelp review, and we send them a public message, and then we send them a private message as well. Explaining our position. Whether they like it or not is irrelevant at that point, but we felt like we were compelled to do that. And so that's how we handled it.
What are the two biggest mistakes you've made in managing and growing the business?
So the first one was spending $450,000 to build my first store, and now it costs about $200,000. So that's a $250,000 difference. So that's a pretty big mistake. And I think that the second one, I would say, is probably, I've got a couple floating in my head, so let me take number two. I think number two was getting into franchising without doing enough homework. I thought I did enough homework, but I still didn't do enough of it, and I probably should have spent more time talking to other franchisors. I did spend a lot of time talking to franchisees, but I didn't spend enough time talking to franchisors and getting that perspective. If I had the chance to do it over again, I would have spent more time talking to the franchisors, knowing what I know now.
What is the key piece of advice that you have for all the business owners here, right, who are growing, who are planning growth, who are in the process of it, launching new things? What's the key piece of advice that you have for everybody based on your experience?
For me, I would say it's definitely take the time to talk to a lot of people, and do not be afraid to talk to other entrepreneurs. The one thing I've learned over the last several years is that in this community, especially in Austin, entrepreneurs are fantastic. I mean, they're always willing to share. They're always willing to tell you what they effed up on and what they did well and how did they get to where they were. And I spend so much time just talking to people now and other entrepreneurs and saying, hey, I've got this issue. Have you ever seen it, done it, dealt with it, been screwed by it, whatever? Just tell me, And I think, I was going back and looking at my calendar recently, and I think I've done something like 25 lunches with different entrepreneurs in just this year, asking them, because you go through a lot of stuff when you're a business owner, and so I think it's important to get all kinds of different perspectives. Kind of like what you're getting today. I think that we come from different spectrums, and I think that's what makes business so fascinating. But definitely take the time and never be afraid to reach out to talk to somebody.
Well, thank you all very much. If you guys could give a round of applause for that.